All right, now we are very lucky to be joined by head coach Jeff Fisher, head coach of the Michigan Panthers. And coach, we're sitting here at Legion Field, a place that's no stranger to you. You've been here before. Let's jump in the time machine. 40-something odd years ago, 1978.
That's an old time machine.
1978, Jeff Fisher was a member of the USC Trojans. They came in here to play the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, head coach Bear Bryant. That was a clash of the Titans. What do you remember from that game back in '78?
I just remember the build-up, the week before. Now, keep in mind, I'm a redshirt sophomore and scared to death and don't know what I'm doing and just kind of following people around. And then I ended up getting on an airplane and coming back here. I think we were both, maybe 5-0 or something, SC and Alabama, something like that. And both teams were clearly undefeated at the time. And so I just remember walking out here in pregame warm-ups, just going, whoa. Because the only place I really ever seen was the Coliseum because I hadn't been traveling, and I thought this was so cool, and that's Alabama on the other sideline. And as history would have it, we ended up winning that game. I think it was like 24-14, something like that. And then we came back the next week and lost to Arizona State. Alabama went undefeated, and we ended up being co-national champions. And I got some jewelry out of it. So, and that's the only piece I have, but at that level. But it's just, I was fortunate to go to numerous places during my college career. This undoubtedly was my favorite.
When you guys were preparing for this game and you took the cross-country flight, you obviously had success 8 years prior. Sam Bam Cunningham ran for almost 200 yards in that game. Was there a real sense of confidence that, hey, we're going to come in and not just compete with Alabama, but we're going to beat them, as you eventually did?
Well, that team at that point was starting to come of age, if you will, with the talent that we had. I mean, with Marcus Allen and Charlie White and a couple Heisman, and then the whole offensive line was probably first rounders, when they graduated, whenever that was, and then some really good defensive players. So I don't think at that time we knew whether we were good or not. But by the end of that season, Coach Robinson had built a great team, and I'm told that there's some footage that you got to find is that where Coach Bryant and Coach Robinson were pulling back and forth at the trophy, because at that time AP and UPI, you had two polls, and we split the polls, so we were co-national champions.
In '78, do you look back at some of your teammates that you stay in contact with back and say, we're not sharing that, we beat them fair and square, we beat them on their turf, we should be the sole national champion for 1978?
Those discussions probably took place for a year or so after that, and then it went on to the next one. It was like, who we're going to go beat, how we're going to go win another national championship. And then, as your college careers would have it, it just goes by so fast. You blink and you're someplace else. And fortunately for me, I ended up staying in the game.
Last Alabama-centric question I have for you. So you're a student in the game, you're coaching now. Do you remember that day 40-some-odd years ago standing on this sideline looking across and being like, that's Paul Bear Bryant on the other sideline? Or were you not intimidated in the slightest?
I was intimidated at the whole thing where I was. I mean, I was a little surfer boy, from Southern California. I was a receiver, and you stay away from all the stuff, and little did I know I'd end up being a corner and getting in the middle of stuff. But at that time, I was like, this is cool. Where's the guy with the funny hat? And I remember looking for him during the game and saw him and said that was cool.
That's Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
So you finish your career at SC. You get drafted in the 7th round by the Chicago Bears. Can you walk me through what it was like playing for Coach Dick and then eventually beating the New England Patriots in a Super Bowl down in New Orleans?
You had to bring up New England, didn't you, at some point? Yeah.
Of course.
So always. Where were you originally from?
Connecticut. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, good. I mean, I was really fortunate to have a blessed career. I mean, as a player, short, but still as coach, and so many great games over my career. But that, the games in New England are memorable for a lot of different reasons. But that one that we played, I think it was '03. It was real cold, and then we went back there again, and we lost another playoff game. And it seems like you lose playoff games in New England, but we did win some. But it was just great memories. I mean, Brady was coming of his own, and Bill was getting started, and we had some great battles.
Talk to me about the moves when you were a head coach of the National Football League. Obviously, it's well documented what happened in Cleveland '95 with Belichick. You went through it twice, both in Houston when you were packing up and moving to Tennessee, and then did it years later when you were in St. Louis going to Los Angeles. Can you just in a few sentences, try to explain how difficult that is to just uproot an entire organization and still say, hey, you got to go out and try to win football games and compete for championships.
Distractions are the number one thing that will create the difference between wins and losses.
Sure.
And you have to do whatever you can to avoid distractions. I coached 2 teams. I was the head coach for 22 years, they tell me, which when looking back, man, that's pretty cool. That long, you know. But I coached 2 teams in 5 different cities and 6 different stadiums. So yeah, and so I in life I have a tendency, which I'd like to make a suggestion to the listeners, is if given the choice between the glass half full and the half empty glass, take the half full glass. Sure. I'm tied for 11th in all-time wins in NFL history. Yeah. But I'm also real close, or maybe in the lead for most losses in NFL history. When you're head coach for 22 years, you're going to have some losses, and you go 10-6 every year, you're going to have the most losses. So it's really about which path they choose. And to me, I have no regrets. I have this sense about me in that if I had some kind of impact on the team moving from Houston to Nashville, sure, which I believe I did, because 5 years after I took over as head coach and we finally arrived in Nashville, we went to the Super Bowl, then I helped the NFL, I helped the fans, the community, all that stuff. And then I'd do it again in St. Louis. And so I kid around, I go, I took the Titans to the Super Bowl in 5 years, and then I took over another 2-14 team in the Rams and got them to Super Bowl. They just didn't take me with them. But I have no regrets. But I do have, anybody wants to relocate a franchise or something like that, I'm here. Yeah, I'll help you. I've been there.
Just a few more for you, especially from a sports media perspective. When you can match talent with the personality and combine it, that's what we love. You started under Buddy Ryan. Can you just speak to the opportunity that he gave you in Philadelphia all those years ago and what he meant for you just as your maturation as becoming a coach?
A lot of people right now don't know who Buddy Ryan is. I appreciate you. Yeah. But yeah, I learned so much from Buddy. He did. He gave me, I played for Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan, but Buddy Ryan, the defense, he gave me the opportunity. He literally talked me into coaching and not playing anymore. I learned so much from him, and I said this numerous times. Sometimes you learn how not to do things from someone as opposed to how to do things. And so you have to be open-minded, and so I was throughout my career, but Buddy was instrumental. There's a lot of lessons to be learned, and the history, that's the thing. I mean, we started this talking about the history here. I've just been so blessed to, be able to go back, and be part of the NFL history. I did. I played for Buddy Ryan and Neil Armstrong and Mike Ditka, and on one side of the 50 was our team. On the other side of the 50 in Minnesota was the Vikings. Sure. I mean, there was a rope
divider.
Yeah, same sidelines and stuff. So, and by the way, there was no indoor back then. So yeah, those memories. I appreciate you for helping bring them up.
Here in Birmingham, you're with the Michigan Panthers, USFL. Just talk to me about how you got this opportunity, how interested you were, and where you think this league can eventually go.
I was approached well over a year ago. I was in a good, safe space, place, I loved outdoors. So I hunt and fish, and I was in Montana, and because I have a second home there, and they reached out, and I said, well, hey, once you get things, get a little closer to it, call me back. And then that thing went from that conversation on to, what, I think I'm gonna go down and do this. And I will be honest with you, most people in this league are in here because they're looking for the next job. Sure. Okay, those players, there's a lot of coaches here. I'm not. I'm here to help, and so I'm in a good place. I'm very fortunate. I don't have to work. I want to help, and that's just kind of the way I'm wired. So I'm here to help the players. Those maybe potentially realize their dream, maybe get one more shot at the NFL, or those players that just love this game and they just want to play. And that's the same with the coaches. I have one experienced coach on my staff who is an outstanding coach. Actually, he has roots here. Sure. It's Neil Callaway. He was the head coach at UAB. Outstanding coach that just is coaching because he loves to coach. Everybody else is trying to get their foot in the door. So I told them I'm gonna take this job and I'm gonna help you guys get your foot in the door. So that's what I'm doing. So I wake up every morning with a smile on my face. We've lost some rough ones. We had a doinker off the uprights, and I lost last week in the USFL's first overtime game.
That's ball though, right?
Yeah, it's ball, but you know the challenge is to keep the guys going. But they're motivated. They wouldn't be here if they weren't motivated.
Well, Jeff Fisher, full circle here at Legion Field, 40 some odd years ago. Now here we are, and you're getting ready to coach a game in this stadium. How cool is that?
It's really cool.
Jeff
I'm
Fisher,
looking forward to it.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.